Yeah. So they're probably around 3 people. If a Sunday is probably. They built a huge. So, yeah, so they're maybe it's like there. Like whatever. Yeah, yes. So they. They built another big one. I live in Powell, they just fixed the. So they, well, this, I not a point towards the same, but. So they would feel like. Say it like. And then they're building another building. Yeah, well, probably. Teacher space. Happy. Classroom space. Have a summer place in top. Yeah, they're. So that's the problem. I thought it came from.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started, okay? There are some more people that are at least registered to come, so they might trickle in. But just to begin with, I think we all know each other, so no formal introduction is needed. But if you want to just share either from question 1 or 2. All right, so why did I choose to come to this workshop? Take a couple of volunteers. And number 2, what I hope to get out of this workshop. So if you haven't had a chance to kind of think about that, then you can take another 30 seconds to think about it. But if you already did think about it, all right, go ahead, Mike.
Because I respect and appreciate you guys and wanted to support you and figured I could learn something.
Okay. Thank you.
Want to see mommy crush it.
Soccer?
Backwards overhead kick.
Right.
Region, I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Away.
Yeah.
So, no, I actually it's a similar thing years ago with Mike. Where we worked on it. But yeah, I think you have to take a chapter of every thought. It's something I've been working on for a few years.
Yeah.
You realize that you're bombarded by media, no matter what your bent or everything you touch is tracking you.
Yeah.
When you have to get a lot of that junk out of your head, and I think we're a society that's bombarded more than we even realize.
Right.
Opinions are they our opinions, or did we just see something that triggered us?
Right.
So I don't know. I just feel in life in general, this topic is really great.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other thoughts from question 1 or 2 on the front page?
Yeah,
Oh.
I enjoy the fellowship. I see it a lot too recently of brothers and sisters and in the course of their transformation. It's always cool to talk to each other and reminisce over how things have changed for each other in a positive light and how their changes and seeing their changes affect you in positive light as well.
Yeah.
So it's all good for that reason alone.
Yeah. All right.
I think for myself, I'm currently examining my spiritual understandings. So
Yeah.
I would agree. I'm doing that too. Plus, you said neuroplasticity at some point, and that fascinated me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want a spiritual workshop. I want a revving.
Yeah.
I want a cleansing. I want to think about things and analyze my behaviors and all that jazz. So yeah.
In the right spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
I struggle with anxiety and really consuming thoughts sometimes, especially at night. And I am eager to learn how to turn that off and not go to the dark places,
Yeah.
But
Okay. Well, thank you. All right. So just very briefly, we'll go through the agenda. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to be here for about 2 hours. Oh, that doesn't want to change. Let me take a look over here. While I'm doing that, honey, you can share your little story.
okay. So transformative moments in my life. They've been a dramatic change in appearance or form. And I've had many to count. I would say, not so much the physical appearance has been the dramatic change or the form changing, but of course, as we grow, we do change and transform. But in my thoughts, in my mind, is where the transformation has happened. And these moments, I do feel like God has worked in ways that it has led me to this, to being able to share with you all. The many things that I've been given by God, the certifications that I've had, the many books I've read, the many practices I've done on myself, and how I've allowed the Holy Spirit to transform my thoughts. And in short, I see it as God just opening doors for me, and I've walked through them. Not all of them, but I've walked through several of them, and it has shaped me into, being able to not only live it, but to be able to give it to you all. And um, it, two very thorough and dramatic life transformations I've had was becoming a Christian. That was a huge one where, you guys know your life is like, what? This is,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you just see life in a totally different way and yourself and God, and then the other one was being able to be set free from the grief and loss of our son. I was 20 weeks pregnant, and we, had just found out he's a boy. We named him. A week later, we lost him. But being able to let go of that sadness and grief, just been extremely transformative. And that's what led me to get the training that I have, and then just the fascination with the mind. And I'm like, God, you're so amazing how you made our minds. It is just, oh, it's so intelligent. He's so incredibly intelligent. So those have been two transformative moments that I think had the greatest impact in my life. But of course, just like you all, we have our transformative moments often, and we can recall them, and we remember them. Oh, that time I was in that prayer, or that time I read that scripture, or that time I was just meditating, or that time I was just quiet. But we have, I think, countless. I think we all have countless of them. But I'm grateful that you guys are here and that we get to share the things that have been given to us.
Yeah, and my story is short but long, and that is going from here to here. I'm kind of heady. I like knowledge, I like to learn, but I also want it to be in my heart. So I'm learning how to travel that journey from going from here to here. So, um, but that's a very short introduction, but I'll keep it short because we're for time here. So just for the agenda for today, so these booklets you can take home. You can answer as many questions as you like or don't like. We're not going to go through every single question today because that's going to take too much time. So this book is kind of designed that you can take it home with you and you can write. And I would say it's a starting point to raising your awareness of your unconscious mind, like your subconscious mind, and kind of talking about, the things you mentioned of taking our captive thoughts, or taking our thoughts captive. So that's with this one, and we'll go through as much as we can. But like I said, we're not going to cover every single question. So there's kind of two parts today. So the first part is that we are actually spiritual beings. I know we live in a physical world, but it's also a spiritual world. We know that, but I think a lot of time we don't think like that. We think we're physical. We don't think about the spiritual aspect of things. And the second thing is essentially this idea of awareness. So we're going to talk a little about consciousness, but more so about awareness, because we all are conscious. We're constantly thinking. But so many of us, including myself, don't think about what we're thinking. And some of those thoughts may not be the most productive, not the most healthy for our well-being. And for those who are into neuroplasticity, neuroscience, and brave, how the mind works, there's different wavelengths in your mind, and they shift depending on the time of day. So, for example, now you're probably what they call the beta wavelength, which is like you're thinking, you're conscious, you're analytical. But when you go to sleep, it changes, and the mind is more susceptible in the morning and at night. So the thoughts that you have in the morning and at night, they say, the mind is more susceptible to take and believe and hold on to. So we're gonna recognize, hopefully, prayerfully, some unhealthy beliefs and patterns, and then give you some very, very practical tools and the faith to change. Because I'm sure a lot of you guys, whether you've been following Jesus for X amount of years or just being a human being for X amount of years, sometimes we can maybe lose faith. Hey, I can actually change. When I say change, I don't mean like, well, I can actually start getting up early out of bed. I mean a radical change. Like you're a new person. Bless you. Bless you. Um, you know that you can really, really change and become different and get a new name like Jesus gave Peter. Right. So, all right. So with that, let's jump to the first page here. And if you everybody have one of these? Yep. Hopefully there's enough seats so we can all have a table. I know we're kind of we're squeezing, and we will take a break at 10:55. All right. So quick restroom breaks. Want to get some more to drink. And feel free at any time if you need to get to go to the restroom, or if you feel I need some coffee, I want to get a snack. Anytime, just get up. This is not classroom. You don't have to wait. Raise your hand, okay, to to use the restroom or to take care of any personal needs. All right. I think we have chairs. All right. So if you look at this first one, all right, it says spiritual transformation, how we are formed. And we're not going to talk so much in detail about the formative years explicitly today, but we will talk about it implicitly. Meaning, the person that you are today has been shaped over many, many years, but the primary imprint that tends to have the biggest impact on people are from the ages of, well, in the womb to like 12. That's before the analytical mind has taken form and shape. So if you see a little child watching the movie, they believe it because the rational thinking mind hasn't really developed yet. So I'm going to read this quote, and it says there, number one, meet the intelligent idiot, the gorilla, the robot, or I spelled it out for you, the subconscious mind, our unconscious mind. So I'm gonna read this quote. It says, "At home, I dreamed out of Naples. At Rome, I can be intoxicated with beauty and lose my sadness. I pack my trunk, embrace my friends, embark on the sea, and at last wake up in Naples. And there beside me is the stern fact, the sad self, unrelenting, identical that I fled from. I seek the Vatican and the palaces. I affect to be intoxicated with sight and suggestions, but I'm not intoxicated. My giant goes with me wherever I go." So think about that for like 10 seconds. All right, we'll just talk about this briefly. I already kind of talked about it. What this mean, but also the deeper meaning of it. Take a couple seconds and we'll discuss it briefly. Anybody want to take it? Yep.
You can't run away from yourself. Like you have, but usually you may go to a different place,
Hmm.
but you still are who you are and need to deal with whatever it is that you are. Like you can't. My guess is if you were, pregnant and expecting a baby, it doesn't matter where you live, at some point you'll have it. So you can't run away from yourself.
Yep.
Whatever that is. Like
Hmm.
you, it doesn't matter where you live, you still have to deal with your own personality or your own problem.
Exactly. I think it's pretty straightforward, right? You can't run away from yourself. And you may have maybe experienced this or have friends or heard of this, and people say, "Oh, I can't wait till I get there. I can't wait till I get this promotion. I can't wait till I get this fill in the blank. I want to move to Italy because of all the things." Obviously, the environment does affect us to a certain extent,
Yeah.
but your core beliefs that has been shaped over years and years, and those neurological patterns, that your beliefs, your core beliefs, those things will go with you wherever you go.
My ex-wife's a little bit of a counselor and she
Yep.
was an alcoholic and she says, and we were talking about somebody in the family and you can't just, it's like an alcoholic, you can't just move to another city. You're still that alcoholic. You're
Yep.
still gonna go to the bar. You're still gonna struggle. You're not getting clean by moving doesn't necessarily fix you. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna go through all these questions. They're there to design. Like I said, if you when you go home, if you want to answer those questions, feel free to. This is not being graded. I'm not taking this back in. Okay, so it's just there designed to give you some help. And the reason you might know why it's good to write things down. Anybody know?
It's,
Memory.
Memory.
Yeah.
All right, increase the memory.
it just solidifies it for yourself.
Yep, solidifies it.
Review.
Review,
Engaging.
engaging. All those things are true.
Yeah.
We live in a world, as you know, it's very fast paced, right? Everything, especially on social media. Less and less people are reading books. Less and less people are writing and journaling. And I'll be the first one to say, journaling doesn't come easy for me. But when you write, you engage your prefrontal cortex. Like you engage your thinking brain. So if you're feeling stuff, Aaron asked me, how are you feeling? Oh, I don't know. That's kind of my default response. I don't know. I'm feeling something, but I don't know. Well, let me try and actually identify with words. And that forced me to slow down to think, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? So it engages you at a deeper level when you write it. And they also say you can type it, but it's something that happens neurologically when you write because the neurons in the brain. So I recommend using a pen and paper when you write. So key idea number one, the unconscious follows us until we're confronted consciously. All right. So, and what you probably will realize, and I'll just show this really briefly here, is when it comes to our brain, we mostly think consciously. But the deeper, I would say more important things takes place subconsciously. And once you get, the more you get in touch with your subconscious belief system, you raise your awareness and the ability to change whatever is not healthy. Some of the things might be really, really good. Like you may have parents that instill great emotional connection with you. Right? Say affirmation, I love you and I appreciate you, great, and I support you and I'm proud of you. And you have a lot of healthy subconscious belief systems. That's great. For other, right? It may have been, hey, you were constantly said, hey, why are you nagging at you? Or you should figure this by now. In a young age, you're thinking, why haven't I figured this out? And you keep those patterns, you replay them, and every time you replay them, they get stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's kind of the first idea, and wrong way. All right, so Proverbs 23:7, and I gotta speed up. For as he thinks in his heart, so he is. This is it's a hard scripture to translate, but this is the interlinear translation. So this is what it literally says. For as he thinks in his heart, so he is. What goes on in your mind and your heart, that's who you are. I may say to Eric, well, I love me some
Peanut butter.
peanut butter, right? Simple example. But I don't really like it. Or I may say that, I'm a really outgoing person, but when I'm with people, I just cringe. Right? Like who you are is how you think. And when it comes to the second point, like our worldview, our paradigm, our epistemology, so these are just different technical terms for how we are thinking, like how we view the world, are the lenses that we view the world. So if some of us, we look at the world, we wake up and, the glass is half empty. For some of us, it's half full. We wake up with a certain lens, and that has been shaped over so many years. But what is so cool about God and a truth, when he created us good. So I want you to just let that sink in for a little bit. Like you are created by God good. Like you are good. Psalm 139, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. Like you are fearfully and wonderfully made. In Genesis 1, when God created them, he blessed them, and he said that it was very good. and God created mankind. Very, very good. And that brings me to this question of, how do you view yourself? For me, sometimes I can look and I can think, I'm here, whatever that means, professionally, spiritually, emotionally, financially, vocationally, I should be here. Oh, they're over here. Like I'm constantly having this, and I'm working on it, but I can feel this, rather than maybe sometimes looking at yourself and being, oh, I'm so proud of you. Like you're a good person. I really like you. And we may not think that's a big deal, but what you tend to have your beliefs are projected. What you believe, you tend to project, and you tend to create it. What you think about tends to grow. So whatever you think, positive or negative, that tends to grow. So your view of yourself is really, really important. You think about a spiritual battle, of course, Satan is called the accuser. He wants to accuse you constantly. Or it could be anything. It could be comparison. There's a lot of study done to in comparison with social media. We compare, and we feel less than. We're not enough. We're not worthy. We're guilty. We should do more. Whatever that negative thing might be. They also done research on that your emotional environment, especially at a young age, had a bigger impact on you than your physical environment. So the emotional connection with your caregiver, with whoever, or the lack of emotional connection, imprints in your body, in your neurophysiology, in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. So this self-image, and the key idea here is that our actions are consistent with our self-image and reinforces it. So if you have a self-image that you are a very highly professional person, carry yourself in a certain way. If that's your self-image, then guess what? You're gonna do whatever comes with that picture. If you have a self-image, I'm just a no one really, no one really, really, really likes me. Like if that's your self-image, when you walk around and Eric might say something. Well, actually, he doesn't even talk to you. He's talking to his wife, and then you're like, oh, see, he don't like me because that's your self-belief, and now you're projecting that, even though he may have zero intention of not giving to engage with you, but you view it that way because your self-image. And your self-image is it's deep. It tends to be informed from a very young age. And some of us, right, we are aware of our self-image, but even when you have that conscious awareness, it can be hard to change it because it's been formed over so many years. And that's like your habitual pattern. That's who you are. But and this is a big but, that it can change. And that goes back to neuroplasticity, that your mind is not hard, it's soft, it's malleable, it can change. They've done research on people that had acute trauma, car accidents, and people say they're never going to walk again, never going to speak again, and they heal with obviously a lot of treatment, a lot of help. And also when it comes to God, we can change. God says we can change, and that's called repentance. You can change your thinking. And one of the scripture I have on here is Philippians 4:8. It says, think about these things. And you probably know as I do, like it's sometimes hard to dictate our thoughts, right? Even this morning, I was kind of stressed out, trying to get ready for this. And I'm catching my thoughts. And I know for me, if I underline stress for X amount of time, I tend to get sick. I've noticed I get sinus headaches. And you might say, well, how can you prove that? I can't. All right, maybe I can one day, but I can't empirically prove that to you. But I have enough anecdotal evidence, in my opinion, that when I have underlying stress, boom, I get a sinus infection. And they've been way less frequent. So I was noticing this morning, okay, I'm feeling stressed. But what you can do when you're feeling stressed is you can take some deep breaths. That tend to kind of reset your nervous system. But even if I know it's not healthy to kind of, that conscious mind may help to stop a little bit. But that's kind of the idea of awareness, is just being in touch with what you're feeling. Not to ignore it, not to go and get another, I love coffee, at least the taste of it. Not to ignore it because it doesn't go away. It manifests in your body, in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. Ignoring it is the worst thing. Even though it's really fun, Simpson episode, Homer Simpson, he's driving, and the check-in light comes on, another one comes on, he's like freaking out, he takes a piece of this cloth and just throws over the dash, this plane's like, whew, and keeps driving, right? And it's hilarious. But it's funny, but it doesn't work, right? And we all know that. So how do we create our problems? And like I said, I'm not going through all these questions, but you can certainly do it of yourself. And the one question I think is important is that second one under the second point that says, what is your view of yourself? And I encourage you to take some time at some point. You may not have time to do it today, but like, what is your view of yourself? And to write it out. Another good exercise might be, how does God view me? And you might think, well, God, he loves me. He thinks I'm awesome. Or you might think, God, he's disappointed in me. He think I should do better. I should read more. I should pray more. I should serve more. I should give more. I should love more. Right? But what is your view of yourself? Because you will project it into your reality. And then, how do we create our problems? So before I kind of go into that, because that's our last one before Aaron comes up, and we'll take a little break. But any thoughts, whether without looking at this, but how do you think we create our problems? When I say problems, it could be anything. It could be relational issues, health issues, financial issues. Yes.
Uh, just when you mentioned environment, from when you were younger, whether it's positive or negative, and how that creates something in the future, it just makes me think about the body and how the body, when you give it the proper environment, it's innate for healing.
Mhm.
And our body is our mind too. So I just think of it from a physical standpoint.
Yep.
And a lot of times we are creating that environment, whether it's in the home of maybe lighting a whole bunch of incense and not having the awareness that you're breathing in toxins, or whether it's what you may be putting in your body.
Yep.
Or being around people and you feel this energy and it doesn't feel good. And then you're around someone and it's like, wow, this is good for me.
Mhm.
So letting the right things in because you deserve that
Yep.
and you want to give that.
Great. Anybody else? One more from the share.
Like overthinking, like, for like just on like, I've had times in my life where I just could not, like, you just can't turn it off. It's just on a perpetual loop of negative thoughts.
Yeah, overthinking. And we think a lot. And if your thinking is good, like it says in Philippians 4, then it's good. But if your thinking is bad, and what happens when you thinking actually is matter in the brain. So when they do brain scans, they can see that when you're thinking, it's not just like it goes into ether. Like it actually, there's synapses in your brain that fires and neurons that fire. So when you're thinking, they can see by brain images, they can see these neurons are firing. And they can see a healthy brain from a healthy brain scan and an unhealthy brain and an image of that. So when you have a neuron that fires and it finds a similar neuron that fires, they tend to wire together. And it says neurons that fire together, wire together. And when you have that thought repeatedly over X amount of years, now you have a habitual thinking pattern. And it's really hard to break it. And then when you get triggered, guess what? That's where you go. So our thoughts are a big part of our issues. So all I will say before Aaron comes up, we'll do a little activity before we do our first break. In Matthew 12:33, Jesus talks about a good tree and a bad tree. A good tree creates good fruit. A bad tree creates bad fruit. And just to emphasize, we want to work on the inside. the inside is where the change happened. And it takes work. It takes a lot of work sometimes, and but to really work on that. So what you have within is going to come out. And if you want to be healthy, you have to deal with what's on the inside. And what a lot of us do, we tend to go through what coping mechanism. Instead of dealing what we're feeling and experiencing, we try to cope. And it could be fleeing, it could be retaliating, it could be kind of, surrender, freezing, or it could be binge watching. It could be watching stuff like it's not healthy for you. It could be watching the news. It could be working out, which is good for you. But if that's your coping mechanism, you feel, "Oh, I gotta go for a run." It may relieve some stress, but if you're not dealing with the core issue, it's gonna come back, or whatever it is. All right, so quantum physics, I'm not gonna go into that too much. All it really means is everything is energy, including us. When I say, I don't mean energy as we're just subatomic particles and we're not created by God, not in that sense. But this right here, this chair is vibrating at amazing speed because it's created by neurons and protons, electrons. Like everything is energy. And before quantum physics, they thought it was just Newtonian physics, just matter. But quantum physics is the stuff that we can't see. I think that's where the power lies. And that's why we live by faith and not by sight. Like quantum physics is kind of the scientific, in some sense, a scientific proof that there are things that exist, but we can't see them. And Romans 12 is a great scripture. Says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and prove what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." And I do believe we can actually break the habit of being ourselves, like your unhealthy habit, and become quote unquote like supernatural. When I say supernatural, something like this, like we all live in the world and we have jobs, we have responsibilities and stressors and toxins, right? If you can rise above that, meaning you're not constantly triggering an unhealthy way what goes on around us, you can have peace, you can have joy and contentment, you can have healthy relationships, you can self-regulate your emotions, you can deal with stressful things, you can respond to people in a loving, kind way. That's supernatural. That's the way, following Jesus. So with that, I'll there's more scriptures as you can read, but I'll give it up to Aaron. So we'll take a little break on 11, and then we'll take a little Q&A at the end as well. If you have any questions, you can write it down.
I want to do an activity that's on a piece of paper. Are you guys okay with doing it on the back of one of your papers? Like, I have paper here,
No.
so if anyone needs a paper, then, but I just thought, so it's all in one spot and you can look back on it. I think maybe they might. But we're gonna do a few activities that bring to life the things that he just talked about. And for some of you, maybe this is foreign territory. Maybe this is something that, oh, I don't know, I've not done this. I don't know how I'm gonna, answer these questions. Maybe you'll have those thoughts. Maybe it's undiscovered grounds, or maybe it's familiar. Maybe you've done it a few times in the past, or maybe you do it all the time. Whatever scenario you fit in, you will get something out of it. No matter how often. I do this all the time, and I get stuff out of it all the time. But I want you to know it takes work. You're gonna get out of it what you put into it. And some of us are gonna see maybe major results, huge transformation. It could happen just from this time here, just from you doing the work. And some maybe just something subtle that's you notice. And that it's going to vary because we're all in different spots, and that is okay. Some of us come in and we're like, I'm ready to let this stuff go, I'm ready to change. And you're going to put that work into it, so you're going to probably reap a bigger reward. But no matter what work you put into it, you get a reward. So I just want to encourage you, whatever you put into it, you will get out. And it does take work. It is, I think, the hardest work on earth. Like going to the gym, even though I don't do it. That's hard. But working in your mind and taking control of your thoughts and submitting them to Christ is work. It is hard work. And oftentimes it's so simple too, though. It's like if I just think this and this, and if I just become aware of this, then I become aware of truth. And sometimes it will shift on its own because you're in that spot of like, God, I want this to change. And the Holy Spirit changes it. So, I don't want you to feel anything really negative or think anything negative. Like, God does not want us to do that. But of course we do. But I'm giving you permission to just not do it for this, few hours. Okay. And if I ask a question and you don't know the answer, it's okay. If nothing comes to your mind, it's okay. Just whatever you become aware of, whatever is relevant in your life, just use that. Put that on the paper. But if you're sitting there, I have no clue. You can write, I have no clue. Okay. But spiritual formation, I believe, is going to happen when you put in the work. And you guys are here. So I think that's really, really awesome. And I think you will find something that will lead you in the way of spiritual formation, or that will enlighten you to where you are like, oh, I have formed more into Christ just from that exercise, just from that time. It does not have to take years. Okay. Oh, last thing. Who is patient with us?
God.
Yes.
And each other.
Yes. So I think that means we can be patient with ourselves when it comes to changing, when it comes to, I don't know what she's talking about, or I don't get it, I don't have the answer. You could be patient. Who's gracious with us?
God.
You guys are so intelligent. So we can be gracious with ourselves. And who speaks truth?
Right.
That sets us free. So I believe we can speak truth to ourselves and it will set us free. So talking about this inner giant, Emerson said, no matter where he traveled, the same sad self went with him. So on a blank sheet of paper, I want you to fold it, and this is maybe where I wanted you to have loose leaf, but you can still do it, but fold it long ways. So you have 2 columns. Okay. And on the left side, I went on the top, you're going to write my outer life. And again, this is what is relevant in your life now, and then anything else that comes up in the mind. And I wanted to say this first, but I forgot, and now it's coming, so I'm going to share it now. Like he was sharing that a lot of these beliefs that we hold today as an adult were formed when we were a child because needs weren't met. That's usually what it stems down to. Your needs weren't met, you formed a belief, and now you bring it into your adult life and you see, well, the goal is to become aware, okay, this is actually not godly or helping me or serving me in the best way. But so the goal is not to look back and think, oh, yeah, I didn't get those needs met. That's part of healing. You get in touch with what that felt like. but it's realizing that God can meet those needs now, and that you can be a facilitator in that too. You can say, oh, I wasn't shown the affection. Maybe that's a weird one, but you can hug yourself,
Yeah.
you know, or I wasn't given the words, like no one ever praised me. How does God look at you? He praises you. So, okay, I do a good job. I am doing a good job. But there's always hope that even though we didn't get that there, that doesn't mean we'll never be able to have that need met or then transform when that, you know, meet that need is met. Okay, so on the left side, my outer life. So I'm gonna say these several words, and then you just fill in the blank. Okay, and you can write you can write my words down too, or you can just fill in the blank. What I do. What I do. There's no cheating. Okay, what others see?
What did the see?
What others see?
Yes.
You're right.
See me doing, see,
What we think they say.
yeah,
Gotcha.
my habits, and maybe just list 3. My habits are, and my reactions. Maybe just list 2 or 3. And this, you know, just bullet points. Like this doesn't have to be, you're going to be reading it. So it's just very quick what comes to mind. Okay. Finish up. And then on the right side, you can title it My Inner Giant.
That's not Steve.
Okay, so again, I'm just going to read the words and you fill in the blank and just bullet points, just jot it down, whatever comes to mind. I secretly believe I fear the story I repeat is
I'm sorry, what was the last one?
the story I repeat is
as in.
The story in your
thought-
mind that
thought
you
you
repeat.
repeat.
Mm-hmm. And again, just allow your mind to give you the answers. So just notice first thing that comes to mind. I expect. And I am. I am. Okay, let me just wrap that up and looking at it, I don't know how you have it, but flat out with Lilith's being able to see the whole paper. Which side controls most of your life? You don't have to answer, but just a reflective question. Do your outer actions match your inner beliefs? You know, the beliefs come through when you talk about the inner. that's you know, that's all we have really to work with when we're talking about inner is our thoughts, and our thoughts usually composed of words or images. All right, so I want you to look at the belief side, the inner beliefs, and read over it, and then just jot down 2 to 3 beliefs that you see from this, from what you wrote down. So 2 to 3 beliefs that you have about yourself, maybe about the world, about your upbringing, whatever came out, but write 2 to 3 beliefs that you gathered from that. Okay, I'm gonna see if we can go through these next 2 in 5 minutes, okay? Okay, so now I want you to, on a different sheet of paper, to write down, I want us to think about a recent overreaction or a repeated struggle or pattern or sin. You know, sometimes we don't see what controls us. And this is just another layer of becoming aware of our inner beliefs by going into these overreactions, these repeated struggles, these patterns, being able to see, okay, what is the core belief here? So with this, you pick one: overreaction, repeated struggle, pattern, or sin. Write down what happened, just very quickly. What happened? my husband didn't put his socks in the laundry basket. Just, you know, whatever. That doesn't have to be yours. That's an example. How did I react? Irritated. What belief may have fueled the reaction? So just jot down quick words of what happened. And once you get to the what belief may have fueled the reaction, I don't know if anyone would like to share just that belief. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I found is things get harder as I get older. And so, and a lot of that's just physical more than spiritual, but it, I find myself chafing against the new limitations that come with age. And I'm probably looking for it, and I'm working it. So that tends to annoy me a great deal. Like when I'm taking things out of the refrigerator, putting things in, and I bump into something, they fall like that. So I was even just thinking, yesterday, I'm glad I'm not God, because I would do wrong things, but if I had this kind of power, I would lash out at anger at things that are inanimate. But the underlying thing is just, feeling how much harder it is to do things that I took for granted.
Yeah, so what belief do you think you're having about yourself can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you're. What belief do you have about yourself when those things happen?
Oh, well, I guess it's kind of I'm not as good as I once was. Right? And stuff that, and I can't do some of the things that weren't that hard to do now then.
Yeah.
So, and I guess the other thing is, well, if it's getting this bad this quickly, where's the point?
The fear there. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Go ahead.
Um, thankfully, I feel like I don't overreact very often, which is very. But I realized kind of like a little bit of a overreaction was when I was traveling with my daughter in the airport, and we had gotten the wrong line. And so there's a lot of things that happen in the airport, and you're on a time crunch, and you need to get the right line, wait for a long time. So, but I didn't. I think so I didn't understand what her thought process was. I wrote down non-communication, or I needed her to kind of look at me and say, what are you doing? And she had to explain it. And I think we were irritated because we were on a time crunch. But I think she was irritated. I was irritated. So it was confusing. And in general, it's confusing. And it was fueled by communication or misunderstanding and not having a whole lot of time to explain it. But when she did, I was fine. And it's just a busy time. So allowing the time, getting there early is a battle because I didn't learn that growing up. And that it takes me longer to process things, and my eyesight isn't that great, so it probably takes even longer. And so that's something that nobody else can see, that I can't see. So fueled by a lot of, you know, just ability or inability, whatever that ability is.
And what did you believe about yourself in that moment?
Um. Just to. Be patient. Wish that others would be patient, I think.
Yeah.
Taking the time, but they don't often want to take the time, so.
And so what did you believe about yourself, that you're not worthy of patience, or, huh?
It's,
So
it's,
confident, like, oh, you can't do it, too slow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing. That's, I believe, where God wants us to go, because we do carry these. I in my language that I use, I say it's an ungodly belief. You know, because I think God probably looks at you and thinks you're competent because of all the things you've been able to do up to this point. But if we don't believe that, if you don't believe that, then it is going to produce.
Yeah, the time that I need to process, like, where to go, what to do, not much.
Yeah, but it's dealing with that core belief. I think that will help you to not be rushed. So it's going away, and you'll see through this some more of this activity, and through the end of it, you'll see hopefully how to shift that belief. So maybe write down, I'm not competent. I believe I'm not competent. If you haven't written that down. So that's where we want to get to, the core belief. Because that's where the gold is, that's where the growth is, the transformation. When that transforms, then we transform. Okay, so he passed out the Post-its. So you know what he was talking about earlier, our thoughts that we rehearse become truth to us, no matter what they are, if they're true or not. They become truth to us. So I want you to, on this little Post-it, you can write down, and maybe from stuff that came up, or maybe something new comes up, but write down one limiting, or what I say, ungodly belief on there that you have about yourself. Just one. So write down one limiting and ungodly belief.
Sorry, keep that.
Got it. Yeah. Write down one limiting or ungodly belief. And it could be from the things that, you just wrote about, or just something new that comes to mind. But a belief that you hold about yourself, like I'm incompetent, I would say that's we all have them. These ungodly beliefs there. We didn't learn them from God. So that's why it's, in my eyes, that's why it's ungodly. So write it down on the paper. And when you're done, just hold it up. Okay, almost there.
oh, so good.
You could do this if you want to get a little arm workout.
And
Okay, almost there. Almost there. I'm gonna do it. Just gotta incorporate working out all the time, when you got 3 kids. Okay, now I want you to take it and just shred it up. Shred it up. It's gone. I no longer see this as something upon me. Okay. Yes, if I had a little pot of fire. I will let y'all throw it in there. Okay, so now on a fresh piece of paper, this is our last one. I know we're going over time, but you came here to get some stuff, so we're gonna give you some stuff. But
Bring it
it's
on.
okay if you don't get a little break. When we said you get a break. Okay, so on a piece of paper, I want you to write down all the beliefs that you wrote down from the inner giant that we just did, and then the last. Do you get what I'm saying? No. So the paper where it's the right and left, on a blank sheet of paper, I want you to write down the beliefs that you saw from that. And then your last overreaction, your struggle patterns, then what belief came out of that? So write that down on the paper. So it's going to be beliefs, pretty much, on the sheet of paper. The beliefs that you hold about yourself.
Wrong beliefs.
Right. Yep. And see if you can, bottle it up into like 3 main beliefs. 3 to 4. If you're having a hard time trying to pick out what belief comes from this incident, then you look at the incident and you say, what did I believe about myself because of this? And just listen to what comes up. What do I believe about myself because I reacted that way or because it didn't turn out that way? Keep asking yourself again, what do I believe about myself because of whatever the situation is? If you're having a hard time identifying beliefs, I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. All right. Now we're going to do a little meditation, and maybe this is new for some of you, maybe it's not. You do whatever you feel comfortable doing. You do not have to participate in it. You can just listen and look at me as I talk, or you can. What I recommend is closing your eyes while we do it. But when we do this meditation, if there's all these other thoughts coming to mind, just notice them and say, hey, not now. Not now. I'm focusing right here. Okay? So I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in. And slowly out. Take another deep breath in. And slowly out. I want you to imagine the loving, caring, most patient, gracious God. This God is right before you. Maybe you want to imagine Jesus. You can do that too. Is nothing but love. He's right there with you, in front of you, beside you, maybe holding you, surrounding you. God is right there with you. And I want you to share with him these beliefs that you just noticed about yourself. And this loving God, if you can see that, a loving God who is with you. He wants to tell you what to believe. Listen to what he wants you to believe. And maybe just try this belief on. Maybe just hold it. This belief that he wants you to have, that he believes about you. This loving God. Maybe just try it on, see how it feels. And maybe picture your life, how different it would be if you held this belief. Just maybe a snapshot of how life would be with this belief that a loving God gave you. I want you to take a deep breath in and slowly out. And this loving God, he shows you or he says to you this belief one more time. This is what he wants you to behold, to hold, to know. This is the truth. He wants you to believe. And again, take another deep breath in and slowly out. Okay, now you can slowly open your eyes. And I want you to write down what you heard or saw, felt. Just write down things that you experienced. All right. Yeah, many of us, I want to let you guys write, so I'll let you finish this. So I would say that was working with our identity, our ego identity, our sinful identity, and having it be transformed into God's identity, Christ's identity. And that's a huge practice that I do that you can take home with you and do, and you will have transformative experiences from it because you're getting in touch with the inner thought life. We can change so little from the outer. Like we can change so very little from our kind of beat our bodies into submission, into spirituality. It does not last and it doesn't work that well. It can work a little bit, to start changing the way you're going to eat, or okay, I'm going to cold turkey, quit smoking. Like I have seen that happen, but there's a lot of stuff going on, in here for those things to even occur. But the goal is to work inside. And that's where Jesus' transformation lies. That's where the Holy Spirit comes in and speaks to you, talks to you, shifts things for you. He has created our minds to be able to do that, which is such a beautiful, freeing thing. So, yeah, I want you to take the beliefs that God gave you, the new beliefs, and have them on repeat. Broken record, broken record, broken record. Say it all the time, 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 all the time. All the time. Because you are controlling what goes in here. And that's what can produce so much more transformation when we get into the driver's seat and we're not on autopilot with the big giant. So, if the giant has been traveling with you, who have you been feeding? Fear, shame, ego, the giant, the Holy Spirit. Who have you been feeding? Again, we don't transform by changing jobs, locations, spouses, bedrooms. We transform by aligning our vision, what we see in our mind, the beliefs we hold, the words we hold. We transform by creating a space to get aware of them and giving them to Christ, giving them to God and asking Him, what do you want me to believe instead? And when we, and only when we become aware, and when we give those thoughts to Christ and whatever it's attached to, give that to God. Give me a new belief, God. That is when we will see transformation. So Kwame is going to probably lead us into a break.
Yes, take a 5-minute break, the restroom, want some more snacks. And then we'll come back and we'll start with a little quick Q&A and then we'll have a little bit less time for the second part. But all right, so yeah, take a break. Probably should get up, move around a little bit,
This is a really good class. This is a really good class. Yeah. I've been I've been helping people with stuff like this for quite a while, so, but you're doing a really, this is the way it is. You're building a good foundation and you're helping people to look at the things they need to see.
Zach was breaking. That's good. That's good. Oh, yeah, that's good. Good job. Both you guys.
Well, yeah, but that's not, this, for me, it's.
Yeah.
Guys do too.
It's perfect design, but then you, well, I'm not my free will.
Yeah, I think most guys are, yeah, we're very. We're not, we live in an emotionally stunted society for guys, if they don't know what to do with it, and if you think about it. Like nothing, stick it off, yeah. That's how it is, right, it's right,
Don't deal with it
Every day.
Just dismiss it.
Yeah.
That's not important.
He's strong.
And
Doesn't have to see more like this other stuff.
that's not. Yes.
But yeah, this is really good, good. I'm glad you're doing this.
Months ago, I was fired up when everything was going on.
We had quite a conversation on the way up too. So, the guys rode together and the ladies rode together. Well, good, I'm glad, yeah, we are very fortunate. Make sure we reverse that. I do that, put my hands on you. He can do that. Yeah, I agree. That's not a sign of, yeah, it's not a sign of, excellent. It's not a badge of honor and calling if you can't do that. Not nothing, like the Girl Scouts have all their little badges, well, it's not a missing badge.
Here today, well, small. That's my hope. We've been here today. Here today, I'm trying to be. Okay, Hollis, Spanger, in New York, you got some huge. Still pressure. Sure, it's sad to say, I. I would read. That's what you. Reading. So, just like that's. Yeah, I mean, so that God says that is not, that's, yeah. That's. Like a lot of what they started doing here in break. You both. Obviously, take a session. Say to do it every time. It's big, it's like, it's almost like. We can break it down. It just.
That's.
Gonna take a while. I'd say, I got ready like in months. Things in the teacher. Oh, when you're high. So you get good at, yeah, but you know, it's okay, right? Yeah, every single thing. It's like that. Ask others. I should be able to ask. It's really just side of the back. People see me change. Here's the rest of looking at one. Somebody wants. Yeah. I go, old age is not to combine part of that. I remember when I did it, I heard what you're saying, Bill. It's just really, and actually. The talk about. In context. Yeah. Seeing there. Cross. It's not good for all. No. No, if you just try to keep your car in the shop, as long as you can. Right. But. And it fades quite. Yeah. Has a better.
Why would I sit on that chair?
Oh, yeah. And we hang on to our people. It is. Absolutely good. Always. Ray likes to say. Do you? Still with this. Oh. No, actually, they.
All right, we'll do one more minute. We'll come back to our chairs and bring your. Bring what you need back to your table.
Oh, okay. We were up to Wednesday, Carolyn's parents. What is your? Yeah. I think we were out to. So I don't spend my. No, we paid for Carol and I went for. Really? Yeah. How many years ago? So, when Jake's wanted to be, the case is still trying not to be on. Yeah. Out there. We accept the grants out there. They're all moving some value. Oh, yeah. So we. We have babies at the time, so. Yeah. You know, so I get a lot of. Yeah, absolutely. So and then we had the three other couples. And they were all from Red Box. More than that. And or that's Cyprus is half tradition, half big card. Turkish cycles. But as the skies first night, it's just basic. We did a lot of generally. So. I think there's so through that, and then we're straight. Just inside. I try to make us
Yeah.
All right, I'll go get started. You feel free to, if you're eating, snacking, all that stuff. So we'll do one more kind of visualization activity at the end, okay? And for section 2, which is to fuse awareness, which is the first step to change. And I have a not so maybe pleasant example. I like to use an example. If you ever talk to someone who have bad breath, but they don't know it, but you can clearly smell it. They can't change it unless I guess someone tells them or some other way realize that their breath doesn't have the most pleasant odor, right? So this idea, like, if you're not aware, it's really hard to change. So Aaron went through that exercise and you hopefully became more aware of some of your limiting beliefs, negative thinking patterns, ungodly thoughts, maybe accusations that you have a tendency to maybe carry. So for the second part, we're not going to go through every single question, but I do want you to take a minute or two to answer that first question, where it says, "What attitudes of mind have most shaped your own life?" So maybe you can even synthesize what we did in the last activity. Maybe there was one prevailing thought or pattern, and maybe there's more. But just take a minute or so and kind of jot that down. So just that first question. Let me ask you, why do you think it's good to be aware of an attitude, a mindset, a thought pattern that kind of shaped your life? Yeah, go ahead.
Change.
You can change it? Is that what you said? You said you can change it? Yeah, all right.
But with that awareness of self, uh, you can not just maybe change it, but maybe you can have passion on.
Absolutely. Compassion itself is big, yeah.
If I'm aware of it, then I can either put it in the true bucket or the lie bucket.
Yeah.
If it's in the lie bucket, then hopefully I have the tools or the wherewithal to say, well, that's in the lie bucket.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, it doesn't have to be a bad thought. Like it could be positive. And obviously we're talking about things we want to change, but it could be a good thing. Right? The thought patterns that you have that's been instilled in you, or that you've with the scriptures, with God, with the Holy Spirit, that you've kind of harnessed yourself, like, yeah, I want to hold on to this truth. Yes.
So spear the spirit, rather than it's blocking the spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would recommend, and like Aaron said, I think this is hard work. When I say work, I mean in the sense of you're not being, it's not watching TV, just sitting in Nintendo. You have to think deeply. So for me, it is hard work. It's kind of this idea of metacognition, which is thinking about your thinking. So for example, if you think about this last week and you're trying to think, okay, how was my week? And okay, I was mad there, I was frustrated with my spouse here, and then maybe I overreacted here. Like, why? Like it's really kind of trying to slow down and get in touch with your thought life, your spiritual life, your emotions, right? So it does take work, but I think it's really, really healthy to do it because you probably will start to see patterns. And the goal is to find a pattern that's unhealthy and replace with a godly, healthy pattern. And if you feel like you get emotional or it's hard, that's okay. Or if it's even if it's hard to kind of get even to that place, to kind of get that stillness and to find that space, because most people, maybe not us, but this is their tendency in life. They wake up and it's rushed for whatever, getting ready for the day. All right, this is generally kind of true. Then they drive. They don't want to make the commute to a place that they maybe don't really want to be at. Then they work all day and there's stress. There's things you got to take care of, responsibility. You got to rush home. You do your little thing. Maybe it's dinner. You have kids. It's kids' activities. And then you got to put it to bed. And then you have a little bit of time in the evening and you watch something. A lot of people in America, they watch the news. And she knows I was a news junkie. You should not watch the news at night.
Or never. Yeah.
And of course, you can do what you want to do, but the news, anytime the news is usually like it's snippets of bad, negative information. right? Good, bad news is good PR essentially. So when you listen to at night, that's what goes into your mind, and you go to bed with negativity. All right, it's much better to read something spiritual, godly, the Bible, right, and end the day with maybe a little meditation or journaling or something like that. All right, I'm not so great at that yet, but I do not watch the news late at night. So, anyways, so get in touch with some of these habitual thinking patterns, and don't avoid them. Right, if it's something that feels uncomfortable to go there, like try and get in touch with it, and see what it is. And then the key idea here is we're less conscious that we think, but we're more capable of changing than we think. So for a lot of us, we may not be so aware of what's constantly running in the back of our mind, but we're also capable of changing. And if you flip the page where it says progression, and this is from his name is Dr. Joe Dispenza. He is I think a neuroscientist, author. Yeah, he talks about this, but I think it's so true. So you may have noticed before, maybe you talk to a person, you say, this person always seems to be so happy, or jolly, or they're so encouraging. Or this person, it always seems grumpy. Or they seem like, yeah, they seem like they're not too happy, right? It obviously didn't start there. It often starts what's going on here on the inside, right? And then that kind of tends to become, it affects our mood. And what's really neat, you maybe noticed before, like if you're in a bad mood, whatever that but you feel like you're in a bad mood. Have you ever noticed, like, I'm in a bad mood? Can I change it? I've noticed, like, I'm in a bad mood. I'm frustrated. Like, can I change it? And then after, it's like this internal battle. But sometimes, like, yes, I can change it. But if you don't change it and it goes on, those neurons are firing and firing and firing. And then it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And then maybe the next thing is like, well, it becomes like your general temperament. You wake up and you're just kind of like, like you have like that temperament. You come to work and have you had that, like your coworkers? It just always seem like they're frustrated every day, every day. And guess what? Every day they're gonna be frustrated. Every day they're gonna be angry, and that's their temperament. And guess what? The next thing is like that person, they're just negative. That's their character. They've done it so well for so many years that they're just And then your character, guess what? That becomes your personality, and that becomes your personal reality. So if you want to change your personal reality, you have to go here. And to give you one example, I like cars. So I keep thinking, man, it'd be so much fun to have this car because I like cars. And yes, it would be fun, I'm sure, right, to have that car. But that feeling of having that car, I can pretend to have that feeling. You can have that feeling without having the thing. And there's so many studies done of people that are in concentration camps, prisoners of war. That's their external circumstances, but in their mind, they're over here. One of my favorite examples is one guy, he played golf while he was in prison, prisoner of war. He's playing golf up here, 18 hole, every shot he was going through.
Wow.
When he comes out, he wins the PGA Tour. I forget his name all the time, but it's a really cool story. So I think it's really, really important to get in touch with the inside and then be able to experience what you want to experience. And again, I think one of the great scripture is Philippians 4:8.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent, praiseworthy, think about such things. And Paul is an amazing example, someone who was here a lot of times in life. If you look at his life, it's very, very challenging.
Yeah.
But he was over here, contentment and joyful. He's in prison, right? These letters, because his mind is here, even though his circumstances are here. So as you can work on that, like you will, I really believe that even though your external circumstances have not changed, you're changing. And as you're changing, your circumstances will change because you're projecting what you're feeling inside into reality. So how does that happen? I do think the couple things you can do, which one thing I'm going to practice in a little bit. I do think when it says how do you access how do you access the subconscious mind. I've read different videos from different things. I don't have time to get into. You can Google it, how to access the subconscious mind. I will say one thing is prayer. Praying for God, for the Holy Spirit to change you. Like literally asking God every day, like what you want to see, how you want to see yourself change. Like asking God to work and to change you. Um, but there's other ways you can do. I do think journaling is a good way to do it. Visualizing, which we're going to do here in a little bit. When you visualize, the mind cannot tell the difference between you closing your eyes and thinking, and the feeling is the key to doing that very thing. Another fascinating study, they had basketball players. Group one, for let's say 6 weeks, shots, practice 6 weeks, okay? Group two, no basketball, just close eye visualizing that they're practicing. Group three, no practice. These are almost the numbers of exactly group one, visualizing, improved by 23%. Excuse me. Group one, they actually made the practice shots. 23% improvement. Group two, visualizing, 21% improvement. Group three, nothing, flat. So, athletes, performers, they constantly visualize all the time. So when they come game time, they've already lived the reality. Does that make sense? They've already lived it for hours and hours and hours. So they projected, they're doing that very thing. So that brings us down to the 4 stages of competence, which is right in the middle of the page there. And this is a psychology model, or essentially how you change, right? And remember, you may have heard, like, anybody heard a number, how many hours you need to practice something? 10,000 hours, right? And there's different theories of whether that is actually true. And some theories like, well, if you're repeating something, but you're not repeating it correctly, but then you're not mastering it. I do think there is truth in repetition is the master of all skills, right? If you repeat something over and over, you will improve. It just takes time and determination, and you're creating a new habit, right? So you, with time and determination, you can't do that. Like say, for example, if you want to change something that's quite traumatic, you may not want to. You'll go a little quicker, right? I think that's where visualization comes in. But this 4 stages of competence, most of us, we start with something that we're unconsciously incompetent. So we don't know that we don't know, right? So it could be, I think for a lot of people in the Western world, they don't really know that they're unable to just sit still. Like try sitting still for 5 minutes and do nothing.
Yeah.
I find that difficult. Isn't that crazy? Just to sit still for 5 minutes, I close my eyes and just sit there and not want to fidget with something, or, these days check your phone or whatever.
No, yes.
Right? Then you become consciously incompetent, right? So you try to do it. Say, I'm gonna start my mornings. This will be my homework too. If you're, we have our times with God, like we read, we pray, whatever you do. But I want to give you a homework challenge, not graded, is to just sit still. For, let's say 3 minutes every morning. Right? You're carve out 3 minutes. You're just gonna sit still. And of course, you can add in maybe some scriptures, you can add in some affirmations, you can add in some, but just for 3 minutes. You can just sit still. Just listen to your breath. So we become consciously incompetent, we're aware, and then we become consciously competent. We're doing it, we're learning it, right? And then once you might get to the stage where like, I can't, I maybe you get to a point, or maybe some of you guys are doing this, like you wake up and it's like, it's that's you. Like, whether that's morning, night, I do think there's something good about the morning before you start your day. Like you wake up and instead of going to whatever, checking the emails or checking the news or checking the phone, right? You're checking in and filling up within. All right, so
Mr. Khan.
yes.
Well, another example that I always was taught was like, say a little kid that's like 2 years old, running around with their shoes untied. they're unconsciously incompetent. They don't even know they have laces and stuff.
Yep.
And then the mom shows them, oh, we gotta tie your shoes. Now they're aware that they have laces, but they still don't know how to do it.
Yep.
Then eventually they grow into where now they can actually tie their shoes themselves.
Yep.
And then as adults, if you stop in the day and say, do I remember tying my shoes this morning? We just do it unconsciously. So
Yep.
that's a cool example of
Yep.
those stages too.
That's a great example.
Mm.
Yeah, there's many examples. This is a great one. I've never heard that one. That one was driving a car. You know, we drive a car now. I've seen people on the highway reading a book, driving a car.
Yeah.
Which, like reading a book, a physical book,
Yeah.
because they're so consciously competent. But unconsciously competent, but that's not good. But we're driving, we're texting, we're checking the music, we're just, but that's another example. All right, so before we do this last exercise, are there any questions about anything we've covered so far? Yes.
Where it says, how do we access the subconscious mind? Is that the just sit still part?
Is that what?
Is that the just sit still part?
So I've read different things how you can access subconscious mind. I do think if you're breathing deeply, because the brain has, I think it's 4 wavelengths that your brain has. So right now we're thinking consciously, right? So if we sat down and watched a movie, your prefrontal cortex will slow down and you would just kind of watch the movie, which I think watching really crazy movies is not good because it goes in your subconscious mind because you don't think so consciously. If you watch little kids, they get, they watch and they get scared.
Yeah.
It's not real, it's a movie. But guess what? They believe it because their thinking mind slow down. So so to access subconscious mind, you can breathe deeply, like hold your breath and breathe very slow, like 4 counts, 5 counts. If you do that a couple of times, you altering your wavelengths in your brain to access subconscious mind. They also say morning and night because of the way your wavelengths of the brain. So the subconscious mind is more susceptible in the morning and nighttime. And which reminds me, at the back, there's Psalm 16:7. I read this, I think it was this year. And this may be, I think it's true, but just read it, okay? It says Psalm 16:7. It says, I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night also my heart instructs me. So when you're sleeping, the brain is still going on. So the psalmist is saying that at nighttime, his heart instructs me. And the heart in Hebrew is, essentially is the kidneys, has a little footnote there, which is the mind or the interior self. So many people in this space, they say that before you go to bed, you can either, I've done this before, like a recording of like your beliefs that you want to believe. You play that. Some people, you can play it at nighttime. Like there's all these YouTube videos about scriptures you can play. If some people like it, some people feel like can't fall asleep. But at nighttime, when your subconscious mind is more susceptible, you can essentially feed it with different things. You can also, there's various modalities in psychology where you've both been trained, where you can meet with the practitioner and they help you kind of get into that state of your subconscious mind. But I do think by yourself, I think breathing helps.
Okay.
And I think early morning, late at night. And then also sometimes like journaling, I think can help.
And asking yourself questions. Like, okay, what am I feeling right now? What could this be connected to? Can you show me a memory, God? Can you show me a picture, image, or what this feeling could be connected to, or what this belief could be connected to? Because our subconscious mind holds our memories. Our memories often dictate what we do, our reality. And so getting in touch with the memories, I think, is where a lot of the work, the effective work is. And I like to say that, I want Jesus to impact all my memories. And so whenever I am feeling something and I create a space to journal, to have at least, 15 to 30, maybe an hour, minutes, 15 to 30 minutes, maybe an hour to journal, to sit and ask these questions. And a memory will come up of my parents and something that I didn't like about a situation. And then I'll ask Jesus, can you please put grace and truth over this and help me to see it differently? Because if we hold it differently, we respond differently.
What you also could do is if like say if you know consciously there's a memory that bothers you, right? So if we all have memories that are not pleasant, right? What you also can do is when you do that breathing exercise and you kind of go back to that memory, you can think, how would I want this memory to be different? And replay it that way. You could say, hey, in this memory, if I when I've done if I'm going back to my 10-year-old self, who at 10 years old, this person told me this and made me feel this, and it really has affected me up until today. Like, what would I tell my 10-year-old self? And you go back and you tell yourself that. But what would Jesus tell me? Like, what would Jesus say? Like, what would God love me? God was with me right then, but he loved me equally back then. So what would God tell me? So you're going back into that memory and you're replaying it with the new memory. And it's not some people say, well, that's the memory is not serving you. And science has shown that we don't remember correctly. Like our memories change over time. Yeah, every time you revisit it changes. So, but if it's not serving you, this bothering you, go back and you can kind of change it. And if you have a question, Molly, we can.
And one more thing I'd like to add, because when we go back to those memories, they will oftentimes bring about a lot of emotion, or they can. And one line that has helped to allow the emotion to not have such a strong control over me or the situation or over me is naming the emotion and saying, okay, this emotion, you belong here. You belong. That's it. And it is wild how when I've said that, I can feel it lessen. And because it's really hard, I think, to change things if we have such a strong negative emotion attached to it. So that's one practice in alleviating emotion that you can do and say. But there's definitely, there's a lot of other things to neutralize the emotion. Thank you.
All right, we're running out of time, but any other questions? We can do maybe a little Q&A after if some people have time to stay back. That should be fine too. All right, so we'll do one last activity. So with this activity, there you go. So so with this activity, what I want you to think of is one word. Maybe been a word that you wrote down earlier that you feel is empowering and true. So you might think it's hard to believe it, but if you see it through the lens of Jesus, like how God views us, right? A word that's empowering. And it could be, I'm loved, which is true. You may not always feel love, but it's true. I'm forgiven. It's true. I'm strong. I'm at peace. Whatever word you want to, think of one word, okay? And what neurolinguistic programming teaches is when you do this exercise, and at the end of the exercise, you kind of take a deep breath, blow out, and then you will do what's called an anchor word. So just pick a part of your body, like it can be your wrist or your thumb, and if you do this enough, once you feel that feeling, like say if your word is peace, I want to feel peace, and you get to a place where you're actually feeling peace. Maybe with you visualizing all your family's there, and it's just amazing, and it's just a beautiful place. You have a great memory, a great summer spot, and it's just so. Or maybe it's joyful, or maybe Jesus with you, and you feel that peace, and you say peace. You say peace. You're training your body to feel that emotion every time you do this. So if you do that enough, like say if you're in a place, you're an airport, right? And perfect example, you're airport, and you're just feeling, and you can't, you can't go home and journal. You're at your airport, right? Or you're at your work and like you're stressed out. You can peace, and you train your body to feel that feeling neurophysiologically. How long does that take? I'm not really sure, but it works. So pick your word. So what we're gonna do is just take, I'll say just because of time, I would say if you do this at home, take one page and write out your ideal life, essentially. And here's some examples, right? So how like if you can just visualize anything's possible. How would your relation with God look like? What would that look like? How would you feel? Right? What would you do? Maybe right now you're an accountant. I'm like, I would not be an accountant. You mean I would be in, author. I don't know, race car driver. It's you can choose anything. Where would you live? The type of house, all these things, and you can think of, right? What would you feel? The gratitude, the joy, all these things. How would you impact others? Right? So you're writing down. So instead of we don't have time to write a whole page, but I recommend doing this. So maybe now just write down some bullet points, right? Of things you would want. And the only thing that can stop you is your imagination. All right. So I'm gonna give you about 2 minutes. Write down anything you would like. And then we're gonna close our eyes. And I want you to try and visualize it in as much detail as possible. And the key here is see if you can get the emotion. If you're like if you once you close your eyes, you're thinking about, me and Eric watch soccer. Who won the game? That's okay. If that happened, don't be like, oh, I'm terrible. No, that's okay. Because just try and bring it back. If you go to Monday, I gotta back to work, that's okay. Or I gotta go home and do homework. Everything is okay. Does that make sense? Don't judge yourself. Just so 2 minutes, and then we'll take a couple minutes to just visualize it, and then we'll end it with that.
What? We're visualizing what exactly again?
So, good question. Glad you asked. So you're gonna write down essentially, just for sake of time,
Yeah,
what would your ideal life look like
gotcha.
in every aspect of your life? And if you do this at home, I would recommend write complete sentences,
Okay.
right? Describe it in detail. But right now, we're not gonna have time for that. But you can maybe write some bullet points. It could be, I would live here. I would do this. I would feel this. I would experience this. Maybe some words, empowering words that you would want. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So you can write as much or as little, and we'll in 2 minutes. And also pick that one word. Joy, freedom, peace, whatever. Pick any word. All right, so give it a couple minutes to just as you've thought of your word, to close your eyes. And if you haven't already done this, just take a couple of deep breaths. Just breathe in. Nice, easy breathe out. Take another deep breath. So you're seeing your life. It says when God created life, it was good. His plan was always that life was good. He created you. He said it was very good. He sent Jesus to be with us, to give us life to the full. And God wants you to experience that. See if you can feel the emotion as if you were there. Maybe it's your loved one, kids, grandkids, parents, Jesus, best friends, food. If we can, make the pictures brighter, stronger, the colors brighter. Feel it, smell it, see it, taste it. When you feel ready, just take a deep breath and say your anchor word to yourself. All right, you can open your eyes. All right, fantastic job. Whether you felt that you were able to feel, see, emotionalize it, or if you felt your mind was scatterbrained, whatever you felt, great job. Because you took the step to come here and invest time in learning about yourself, learning about God, learning about how to change, how to heal, how to grow. So good job to you. Give yourself a round of applause for investing. All right, thank you guys. We have one last
We're gonna do this fun,
stand up, right?
kind of awkward.
No, it's not awkward. It's good.
No, it's amazing. But you might feel awkward because it's probably something you've never done before. And if you've done this before, I will personally give you $100.